Story about your life. You got to have a sense of mission and purpose. Here's my dream, here's my vision, and there's where I'm going. And what we're going to cover today and in the next few sessions is to help you identify just as precisely as that rocket. Here's where I'm going. There's my target. I'm excited about it. We're going to find a sense of being, of bringing the Lord into that plan, about praying to God about what He wants us to accomplish, and comparing our plan with the Lord's plan. And we're going to have a sense of spirit out of our prayer life that, yes, that's where I'm supposed to be. But you've got to do your job first. You've got to develop your plan and then test it prayerfully with the Lord to get a confirmation. Now, what's your next step? If you have a copy of our strategic plan for your outline booklet, look at page 15. We're talking about writing a one-paragraph description of how you want your life to be in 5 years. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to visualize from today, no matter who you are, teenager, middle career, if you've just retired. Many of the conferences that I hold around the country, I've got as many retired people coming to my Strategic Planning for Your Life seminars as I do young people. If you're out there today and you're retired, you've still got an opportunity to achieve a lot more. You've got an opportunity. How many people today that are retired are going back for college educations, for degrees, launching entire new careers? There's a lot of things you can achieve. But sit down now and write out a one-paragraph description. Describe how you'd like for things to be in 5 years. Things that relate to your family, your job, the job you'd like to be on, the salary you'd like to be making, things you'd like to achieve, places you'd like to go. Write out a description, and let's get this down on paper. As you get it down on paper, we're creating a target. Then, once you've established that 5-year direction, you notice we've emphasized that 5th year. Now let's come back and look at the 1st year. Now let's write out a one-paragraph description. If that's how I'd like for my life to be in 5 years, out of debt, college education, start a family, get married, whatever those things are that you've wanted in that 5th year, now come back into that 1st year and write the same kind of a paragraph. If that's my target, then how should things be at the end of next year? Write out that same kind of a description. Now, what you'll notice you're doing is you're putting things down on paper. What happens when you write something down? Well, it takes a vision and a dream, and it starts to put it into reality. Now, before long and in other sessions, we're going to talk about putting our plan into action. You got to have your plan in writing or you won't be able to put it in action. If all you've ever done is dream, then, and you want your dreams to turn into reality, you've got to get them written down. Okay, what's the next step after that? What we're trying to do is translate those into some very specific, measurable kinds of targets. What we want to do is we want to say very specifically in a few key result areas, here's where I want to go. Now I want you to start thinking about it, because in our next session we're going to talk about setting some specific measurable objectives. This next period is going to be very critical. You need to be in front of your television set at the same time, and you need to be ready to set some targets. But in our next period, we're going to talk about where do I want to be 5 years spiritually? Where do I want to be in 5 years in my career? Where do I want to be in 5 years with my family relationships? We want to look at this whole area of health. We want to examine where we want to be in 5 years in our health recreation activities. We need to look at that all-important area of financial area. Now, the reason that I've listed finances so far down the list is that too many times that's the #1 item. I've purposely put that to the bottom of my list. Your financial plan supports your overall plan, but we want to set some 5-year targets about where am I financially, my equity, how much I own, my debt structure. We want to look at some financial plans. By now you've probably sensed that I like to work hard, and I do work hard, but I also like to enjoy myself. I like to take vacations, to fish with my children, to do things. We want to set objectives in the area of entertainment, in the area of our hobbies, the things that we like to do. These are the things that provide the catalyst to make our life just a little bit more exciting. Then there's always other areas that you want to sit back and look at. Between now and tomorrow, I want you to start thinking about those 5-year directional targets in these areas and any other thing that you can think of. Start mulling over in your mind and analyzing what are some things that I'd like to do both in the 5 years and in the next 5 years. Rethink, go back and review all the notes that you've made up until now. Work on that foundation again. Think about who you are. What do I like to do? Look at my strengths and weaknesses. Go back and think about those things that excite you, those things that make you feel good. And let's attack those weaknesses. If you've got some particular weaknesses, let's say that you're just so nervous when you get up in front of a group and you have to report on something that you've done even for a church committee. Let's identify some of those weaknesses and take a look at some of those things that are holding us back. We need to overcome those things. The devil is using those weaknesses to keep you from achieving your maximum potential. Let's think about your job. How does your job interact with these specific objectives? We want to take a look at each one of these things so that we can really set some good targets, bring every part of our life together so that we can realistically say, here's where I'm going to be. This is the kind of thing that it takes to develop this 5-year strategic plan. Remember, I've taken every one of these principles out of my own books, my own experience with major corporations in America, with the people that I've worked with. Over the years, many people have come to me for advice about their personal life. I really didn't know what to tell them. I'm not a personal planning expert, but I took principles that I knew would work and have worked in corporations and companies, and I've developed them, and I'm making them work for you. Look at your strategic planning outline. Now let's look back and think about what we've done. We've built the foundation. We've understood ourselves. We've taken a look at how we see ourselves, how other people see us. We've analyzed our strengths and weaknesses. We've taken the time to look at the world around us. We've looked at our job. We've studied how our job affects our lives. And now, just like that spaceship is aimed at a specific target, a specific place it's going, out in outer space, we're going to do the same thing with our lives. We're going to work ourselves right through a number of important categories in our lives, and we're going to identify exactly where we want to be in each one of these areas. So, let's just take the first one, spiritually. In 5 years, take a look right out into that 5th year and write down the year number, and let's just start thinking about where we want to be that year. Now, and let me give you a definition of an objective. Now, an objective is something that has to be specific, measurable, and within a time frame. It's also got to be reachable. Now, in the next 5 years, let's say, maybe you will have wanted to read through the Bible 3 times. For some people, maybe if you've never read through the Bible 1 time, you might want to set a 5-year objective that says, I will have at least read through the Bible 1 time in its entirety. Other spiritual objectives, you might want to listen to a certain number of tapes by evangelists or preachers or church services. You might want to take advantage of driving around in your car. Do you realize how much time we all spend in our automobiles moving from place to place? You might want to do just like I do. I keep tapes right beside me as I drive. And I'm listening to self-improvement tapes all the time. I'm listening to tapes by different inspirational kinds of people. You want to take a look at your spiritual life and recognize where it is now, but set some of those 5-year targets. What are you going to do over the next 5 years in the spiritual area? Set goals in terms of church attendance. Give yourself a target. Call it 100%. I want to be in church every Sunday, but set yourself a goal. Let's move into your career. Where would you like to be in the next 5 years in your career? Now, I'm not talking about just getting ahead or more money or I'd like to do better than I am. I'm talking about picking a specific job in a specific place and at least having a target. If you're a young accountant in an organization, you might say, I want to be a managing partner. Set a specific target. If you want to even visualize the office that you're going to be in, I'm going to be a managing partner in 5 years, and there's where I want my office to be. No matter what job you're in or what situation you're in or where you are in life. Now, we've talked about people nearing the end of their active careers at work, but we've continually emphasized going from something to something. Your career isn't over just because you're 3 years from retirement. Take a look at some career goals on where you want to be in 5 years. You might say, I want to be working for volunteer agencies. You're a business person. Let's say, again, we're talking about accountants. You've had an opportunity to have a full life in accounting. Do you know that you can volunteer your time in your church or any number of agencies and help people with accounting problems? You know that you can be a minister of accountancy? Think about that. A ministry in accounting. You can go out and help someone. But again, what we're trying to do is take our career, no matter where we are now, and say, where do I want to be in 5 years with my career? Okay, let's move down to that next all-important area. Let's look at our families. Now, everybody has a family situation. Maybe you're talking about starting a family, you're talking about college educations, you're talking about any number of things. As I look at our family situation, we have 3 children, Teresa, Roscoe, and Daniel. We have goals for them. We're thinking about things that they might want to achieve. My wife is entering the workforce. She's got her college degree. She's taken 21 years of our marriage to work along, one piece at a time. Everywhere we've gone, she's continued to work on that dream and that goal. I'm inspired by the fact that she has never given up. When she graduates, we're going to have a celebration that you won't believe in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's had a dream. She's had a vision. I'm going to get my education. I'm going to work in telecommunications, and I'm going to serve God with that career. And as she's followed me through my career and supported me, she's never given up on the fact that she was going to have a career of her own and make a contribution. So that's part of a family goal, a family objective. And she's had the 5-year dreams, and it's getting now down to the point where she'll graduate. And that's what I mean by setting objectives in your family that have to do with education, numbers of children, all the things that you want your family to do. Take a look at this area of health. The Lord has given us a body to function with. And how many of us are really taking care of that body? That body is a temple for our soul, and how many of us are not taking proper care of it? Again, go out 5 years and write a description. Make it in measurable terms. In my case, I'm a larger person, but I'm going to say over the next 5 years, I want to maintain a 6'4" height, 220 pounds, a certain heart rate. I want to set goals. I have specific goals in terms of exercise each week. I try to play tennis, basketball, and jog every week. But I've got to have some specific goals and targets to aim at. And especially as we move through the middle parts of our career, there's a real temptation, as much as we travel, as much as we eat, as many times as we eat out. It's something that people in my age range, many of you are out there in that same age range, we've got to be careful about getting overweight. Heart disease is just lurking right around the corner if we don't take care of ourselves. We've got to set those long-term goals. Here's how I'm going to maintain my weight and my exercise program. We're going to look in the area of financial. Now, you've noticed everything I've emphasized is the 5th year. That's all we're going to cover today is where do I want to be in 5 years. And then tomorrow we're going to come back and talk about where should I be next year. But let's look at financial goals. I've just recently refinanced our house. Part of my goal is to be financially independent when I'm 60 years old. We've refinanced our house so that it'll be paid off by the time that we're 60. So you want to take a look at your situation, look at your net worth, the income that you're making. How much money do you need to maintain the lifestyle that you want to maintain to be able to serve God as you want to serve Him? You've got to have specific, measurable financial goals. What's getting so many of us in trouble with this whole area of debt is that we don't have goals. Now, one of the things I shared with you in an earlier program is just my whole sense and being, something that I learned from my parents about not living beyond your means, paying your bills every month. These are very specific goals that you've got to set, or it's just too easy to use credit to get out of debt. I took a family of a very well-to-do professional and used everything that we've talked about in strategic planning, and they were completely in debt, had overspent all their credit cards, and used this whole process of setting goals and plans to reach the goals, and within a year and a half, they had gotten themselves completely out of debt, knew how to manage their money, and had everybody in the family happier than they'd ever been. Do you realize that financial problems can create a burden? It's a noose around your neck that you just almost can't get rid of. You've got to set 5-year specific goals so that you don't get yourself into those kinds of traps. Entertainment. Those of you that know me well can see that I'm constantly looking for opportunities to have fun with my friends and my family. I believe in working hard. We need to work hard, but don't forget to set vacation goals. Don't skimp and save all your life, and then when your kids are gone, say, well, we never went on that family vacation. We never did some of the things that we dreamed about doing. Set some specific goals on how you're going to interact with your family. And I'm going to share with you how you can nail down some very specific vacations that you wanted to go on and have quality time on your vacation. There's a way to plan a good family vacation. Now, take a look at anything that I've left out. I just suggested some areas on where you ought to have some 5-year goals. Look at some other areas and try to identify those in specific measurable terms. Here's where I want to be in 5 years. There's got to be a measure to every one of these objectives. We've set these 5-year goals. We've determined here's where I want to be in 5 years. Now, we've got to translate those. We've got to back those up now from the 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd, and we've got to say, well, what's possible next year? What do I have to achieve? If you notice, the rubber's hitting the road. We're getting very close to putting some of these plans in action, but just as we've taken time to be sure that 5th year is measurable, we now want to come back and make sure the 1st year is measurable. We want to know exactly what it is we've got to accomplish next year, so that that becomes a stepping stone so that we can be where we want to be in that 5th year. And as we're doing this, let's remember and realize now that these specific targets reflect back to that earlier purpose statement that we wrote for our life. Everything surrounds that purpose statement. Here's the kind of person that I want to be. Here's how I want to be spiritually, in my family, in my organization, on my job. We've written out a philosophical statement that says, here's the kind of person that I want to be. And now what we've got to do is test these 5th year specific objectives and goals to be sure that as these are accomplished, that you're actually achieving that philosophical statement that you stated earlier. We'll see you tomorrow.